So there is the small track map in the bottom right hand of the screen. 14 corners make up this particular track here, and we will follow one of the Alpines first out on track, I believe it is, and it is the Dutchie on a set of the medium compound tyres who will be the first car out on track, heading in toward the chicane at turn 1 and 2. For turn 3, one of the hardest corners on the F1 calendar for tyre wear. Long, flat right hand corner. Really is a tyre killer, that one. It's Welsh Sponge and Carlos Sainz doing a friendly little bit of strategy trading in the Twitch chat. Always good to see some good sportsmanship, a little bit of help out there between the two drivers as the Dutchie heads through the far end of the circuit through turn 9, where of course Heikki Kovalainen back in 2008 had a horrible crash. The wheel on the McLaren, the left front wheel on the McLaren, giving up that day, and him ploughing straight on into the Tech Pro barrier. Thankfully, he was okay and carried on racing throughout the rest of the season, but hopefully we will have no such injuries like that today, as the Dutchie now, around turn 14, opens up the DRS, sets the ERS deployment to full, and away he goes onto the first flying lap down the very long pit straight here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Hard onto the brakes, then into turn 1 and 2, before winding his way uphill, up through the long right-handed turn 3 to end his first sector. The Dutchie to set a 22.6 through the first sector, as he now makes his way through turn 4, back up toward turn 5. Carlos Sainz's first sector can begin at a 22.3, I'm being told, 22.2 to be precise, 22.290, as the Dutchie now makes his way uphill through turn 9. Got the Ferrari just in front of him of Ortron, that is, down in toward turn 10. The Dutchie 29.8 through the middle sector. Welsh Sponge going purple through sector 1 as it stands on a 21.9. As the Dutchie coming a cropper there at turn 10, lighting up those rear wheels and having to abandon the lap. So now Carlos Sainz in his home Grand Prix will be the first car to set a flying lap time. Opens up the DRS down the front straight away. Here we go. Carlos Sainz 1:14.5, the purple lap time so far. We'll have a look to see what those behind can do. Zero Sniper in the RB going through turn 9 there. Daddy Cool, a 1:14.590 goes into P2. Johan W in the Aston Martin, a 13.5 takes him to the top spot, almost a second clear of Carlos Sainz. Straight away though beaten by Welsh Sponge in the Ferrari. I was looking for Welsh Sponge, and a 13.1 for the Ferrari man is what he has set this time around. Zero Sniper now in the RB on the way to the line. A 13.7 goes up toward P3. Phoenix Grey is starting a flying lap now, and we will follow the championship leader as he makes his way down toward turn 1 and 2. Nearly 100 points clear so far is the Flying Scotsman in the driver's standing, so surely champion-elect to be with only 6 rounds to go, but plenty of points on the table. So if Phoenix Grey doesn't have a great couple of races, it could all turn around very, very quickly for him. So meanwhile, Carlos Sainz looking like he is improving through Sector 1 and Sector 2, but has caused a yellow flag. Where's that? At the top end of turn 12, Carlos Sainz stationary, breaking off his front wing and taking the old route through Sector 3. As past goes the Alpine of Daddy Cool, returning to pit lane. Smalley on a flying lap there in Haskar. Ortron set a lap time at the moment at 1:16.2. Slowest yet of anyone so far in the Ferrari on that set of soft compound tyres. As Taz Manager in there with a 1:14.7, good enough for P6. Just a couple of tenths off the back of Daddy Cool and his teammate. Taz Manager will like that lap as a first banker, as up to the line there goes Phoenix Grey, 13.274, good enough for P2 so far on the standings. Purple through Sector 2 and Sector 3 was Phoenix Grey, but losing out in Sector 1, so that will be where he looks to try and overturn that from here on out. Ale also on a flying lap here in the McLaren on the run to the line. 1:15.3, P8 for the McLaren driver. Said medium tyres though, might be taking a second warm-up lap. Smalley P8 on a 15.0, just displacing Ale after Ale's lap was taken. The Dutchie going again for a second flying lap now on a set of the medium compound tyres. JK's on an out lap. Adams rolling down pit lane, letting the fast-moving Dutchie and Rinaldi go through into turn 1 before he joins the racing surface. Meanwhile, we have the Aston Martin Johan W just crossed the line at 1:13.241, 0.03 of a second faster than Phoenix Grey, and into P2 he goes. But I'm seeing the Welsh Sponge lighting up my timing screens. Purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Welsh Sponge to the line into the 1:12s, 1:12.886, nearly improving by a quarter of a second. Phoenix Grey going for a slow lap and now dialing in that Red Bull to go again. This will be an interesting lap for Phoenix Grey. What can he do now? He's under just a little bit of pressure as Ale around the final corner on the run to the line on his first proper push lap at 1:13.3 for Ale, up then to P4 in front of both the RBs. The RBs showing some pace today. Arianos on a 14.0, Zero Sniper on a 13.7. But we're yet to see laps from Beaton. Cam McKenzie, the Dutchie who sets a 14.0 now as he comes across the line. JK as well. JK's lap time be an interesting one to see. JK, as Shane Boland, a 13.0 in the Haas, goes up to P2 after his first provisional run. JK still on that flying lap, about to come to the end of the flying lap as he rounds the final corner now. JK on the run to the line, goes up to P6 at 1:13.6. Ale's lap time then sees him in P5. Adams on a flying lap at the moment. For so long in the season has been a championship contender, but has fallen away somewhat through the middle half of the season. Can now he start a resurgence toward the end here? For pride almost more than anything as he rounds turn 9 on the run down toward turn 10. Two solid sectors for Adams through the first two parts of the lap, just in front of a tenth in front of Cam McKenzie in both sectors. So Adams looking good in the McLaren as he rounds now turn 14, opens up the DRS to the line of 1:12.9, the second car into the 1:12s. So what can Cam McKenzie do then in the Mercedes? As he makes his way on a new lap. That last lap of his was an invalidated one, beaten or on an invalidated lap as well, so not going any faster at the moment. Smalley still out on track, trying to find a lap time to improve on that 1:14.9. Rinaldi currently the slowest of anyone so far, 1:16.7. JK bailing back to the pits. 9 minutes just under left on the clock, so we're into now the last half of qualifying 1. We're looking for the 3 slowest drivers, and currently that's Rinaldi, Beaton and Cam McKenzie. Cam McKenzie just setting his first lap time of 1:13.4. Beaton still yet to set a representative lap time, and that puts Ortron into the danger zone. 1:16.2 and a 1:16.7 for Rinaldi and Ortron as it stands so far. And Beaton over the line now to start his new flying lap attempt. Taz Manager and Daddy Cool both on flying laps as well, and Taz Manager improving by over 0.3 of a second through the first sector. Rinaldi finding time as well on his flying lap to improve on the 16.7, taking the second flying lap 1:13.773, tying the lap time of Zero Sniper to the 1,000th of a second. So nothing then separating P9 and P10. So we wait to see Beaton's sector times coming in. 21.9 through the first sector, sliding there through turn 7 and 8 before he could really get the power down. That's going to hurt Beaton's middle sector to some degree. Taz Manager still improving through the first 2 sectors of the lap, looking to improve on the 14.7. Round to final corner now. The battery on the Williams blinking away, nearly dead. Taz Manager to the line at 1:13.9. Found 0.8 of a second or so. Gets himself up to P11, splitting Yanaudi and Arianos. Carlos Sainz still in the pit lane. We're still yet to see a lap time from Beaton. There it is, a 1:13.392, up to P7 for the Red Bull car. That means that our three slowest drivers, as it stands, is Daddy Cool, Smalley and Autron. Autron, though, still on that 16.2, not really a representative lap time. Are we going to see something faster in a little bit? Just over 2.1 seconds separating P1 to P17. And some massively tight battles going on so far here on the timing standings. And Welsh Sponge is going for a new flying lap. Smalley's out on track on an outlap, so too Carlos Sainz, Arianos as well. Taz Manager on a cooldown lap. JK's on an outlap as well. Beaten that cooldown lap. Phoenix Grays, though, is currently on a push lap and finding a little bit of time in both Sector 1 and Sector 2 just to propel himself slightly higher up the order towards safety for the Quali 1 knockout time. As he makes his way now around the final corner, opens up the DRS. Phoenix Grey to the line, 1:13.0, goes up to P4, just 436 thousandths of a second behind Shane Boland. Currently is Phoenix Grey, as Beaton looks to shape up a new flying lap here in the Red Bull to improve on that 13.3. Looking now for anyone on a flying lap. Carlos Sainz on a flying lap right now, looking to improve that 14.5. Currently just on the lip of the danger zone is Carlos Sainz in his home Grand Prix. Would dearly love to get out of qualifying 1, make it through to quali 2. Autron on an outlap, currently slowest yet of anyone so far, making his way through the last sector of the outlap. As his teammate Welsh Sponge, the field being flanked by the Ferraris. Welsh Sponge retiring from the session. Phoenix Grey on that slow lap. Johan W going for a flying lap. Beaten at the moment on a push lap and finding some time through Sector 1 and Sector 2. JK not finding any time through Sector 1 on this particular flying lap. Through Sector 2 he comes, still not going the right direction there. Adams retires from Quali 1 as well now, so too LA. They're thinking they are safe on their lap times as we look to see what times Smalley and Autron are doing. And Smalley's finding time here through the middle sector, found 3.5 tenths of a second. So this could put Smalley right into the battle of the 14.5s, Carlos Sainz and Daddy Cool. Smalley now opens up the DRS on the run to the line. What can he do in the Haas? P15, 1:14.4. What does this mean now for Carlos Sainz's lap time? He's invalidated. Couldn't improve on the last time around. Autron on a push lap at the moment, but going slowly through the first sector, going for a second warm-up lap then for the Ferrari car. The Dutchie's out on track on an outlap to improve on that 14.0. Arianos as well on a 14.0. Might just be feeling a little bit of pressure as someone has just jumped up the order, I believe. As over the line, Autron goes to start a new flying lap. The Red Bull of Phoenix Grey back to the top spot on a 112.796. That one appearing a little bit out of nowhere, took me completely by surprise. As Autron sliding his way a little bit through turn 3. Shane Boland leaving the session. Hopefully he can rejoin the session. Taz Manager retiring from the session in P11. That 13.6. That might leave him a little bit vulnerable if those behind improve by a good enough margin, but Autron on this lap not improving by 3.5 tenths of a second through Sector 1 despite that slide and that little half moment. Johan W on 12.7 in the Aston Martin. That Aston Martin looking nicely dialed in today. Carlos Sainz on a push lap in his home Grand Prix. What can he do? Needs to find a couple of tenths of a second. Has found a quarter of a second through the first sector. Daddy Cool on a flying lap currently as well, as Autron invalidated on this lap 2 minutes 40 left on the clock. Does have time if he's got the battery to charge up and go again. Might not have time to get into the pits and back out again. But that's the gamble Ortron's going to have to take here if he wants to try and make it through to qualifying 2. As Beaton retires from the session now as well. That's the driver in P6 as the Dutchie goes up to P7 on a 1:13.343. Who's next around the start-finish line? It's going to be Arianos looking to improve on a 14.0. Smalley's returned to the pits. Ortron's in the pits. They will need to get going again if they want to get one last lap time in to be safe from Daddy Cool and Carlos Sainz, both of whom are on flying laps at the moment, and Carlos Sainz's lap of 1:13.2 propels him up to P7. All of a sudden, Smalley's back in the drop zone, and Daddy Cool is on his way to complete a particularly fast lap. Improves by nearly a second, Daddy Cool to a 1:13.6. That puts Arianos in the drop zone. That makes this lap even more important, and he's not improving through the first sector as he makes it round turn 5. Smalley's back out on track on an out lap. Ortron's still in the pits. I think Ortron's left it too late, and I think that will then be our first confirmed knockout from qualifying. Indeed, it is now too late for Ortron to make it round. So Arianos through sector 2 he goes. 0.06 of a second improvement has made up all the time that he lost through sector 1. Shane Boland able to rejoin the session. That's good news for him. Ortron retiring from the session. There he is, confirming it then. Arianos then through the last couple of corners needs to find a mighty final sector here for Arianos to knock Taz Manager out on a 13.6 to the line. 1:13.7, can't quite do it. That is the end of Arianos' qualifying session, and he is out at the first hurdle. 1:13.7, only 49 thousandths of a second behind. Now what can Smalley do on his last gasp attempt in the Haas car to make it through to quali 2 to knock out Taz Manager? Will need to find 0.8 of a second over the course of this lap as he heads in toward turns 1 and 2. Who else is on a flying lap? Cam McKenzie registered on a flying lap. Carlos Sainz on a slow lap. Yanaudi on a slow lap as well. So it is just now between Smalley and Arianos and Taz Manager as to who can make it through to qualifying 2. And Smalley has found just about a tenth and a bit through the first sector as he makes his way around turn 5. Carlos Sainz retires from the session. He now knows he's safe as everyone behind is either out or retired. Arianos, there we see, hoping against hope. Well, no, Arianos is indeed out of qualifying. It is just Smalley, the last car on track. 0.2 of a second improvement through the first sector. 0.3 of a second improvement. Another marginal gain for Smalley through the middle sector. What can he find now in the last sector to complete this qualifying run? Arianos getting out of the way, taking the old route through sector 3. Smalley around turn 14 opens up the DRS now on the run to the line. Can he get through to quali 2? No, he can't. 1:14.0 was all the Haas that could deliver him, and it wasn't quite enough today for Smalley to make it through. And at the end of a very exciting sector 1, at the end of a very exciting qualifying one, here's how it stands. Johan W, who I'm being told is actually Moonman Rider. So Moonman Rider and the Aston Martin takes the top spot. Phoenix Grey, Welsh Sponge, Adams, Shane Boland, Cam McKenzie, Beaton, Carlos Sainz, the Dutchie, Ale, Yanaudi, JK, Zero Sniper, Daddy Cool, Taz Manager will all make it through to qualifying 2, with Arianos, Smalley and Ortron eliminated at the first hurdle. As I said, 49 thousandths of a second between Arianos and Taz Manager, who will be sighing a massive sigh of relief after only just making it through qualifying 1. As we now have a green flag down the end of the pit lane for quali 2. And that means that all the clocks are reset. We have 15 minutes on the session clock, and away we go, where we will now look to eliminate the 5 slowest drivers to leave us with the top 10 for the pole position shootout over the course of a 12-minute quali 3 session. And once more, it's going to be the Alpine of the Dutchie that is first out on track for quali 2. as I'm able to just get a chance to breathe before we go again. As the Dutchie, first car out on track, being followed once more by Carlos Sainz. The first two cars, as they were in Quali 1, both on a set of the Red Wall soft compound tyres, as they make their way down toward turn 10. Who else is out on track? We have Ale out on track, the one remaining Ferrari of Welsh Sponge, as well as Johan W. Moomin Rider, the Red Bull of Phoenix Grey. Shane Boland's out on track as well. Hopefully has sorted out those connection issues that were with him at the end of Quali 1. But the Dutchie is the first car to start flying lap, and away he goes through turns 1, 2, now up through turn 3. And up toward the first sector split. The Dutchie at 21.8 through the first sector. It's through turn 4 he goes. Carlos Sainz 22.2 through the first sector. Welsh Sponge 22.8 I'm being told by my little database. Indeed he is on a set of the medium compound tyres, so not the true pace being shown there by the Ferrari. Moomin Rider 22.0 through the first sector. Phoenix Grey matching the Dutchie 21.8 through the first sector, as the Dutchie now through the middle sector. Cam McKenzie goes purple through the first sector in the Mercedes as he makes his way up through turn 5. The Dutchie now into turn 13. Nice open flowing corner, leads you into turn 14, which is nearly flat. Open up the DRS, and the Dutchie on the run to the line. A 1:13.1 is the benchmark for them all to aim at, and Carlos Sainz comes in with a 13.8, Ale a 13.5. Welsh Sponge a 15.3 on those medium tyres. We saw it a little bit through qualifying 1. They do take an extra lap of warm-up to really get them into the best operating window, as JK comes across the line to start a flying lap. Phoenix Grey 1:12.0, purple lap of them all, fastest of anyone. Cam McKenzie a 1:12.9 in P2. Phoenix Grey's mammoth lap time there, putting 3/10 on Cam McKenzie alone through the middle sector on a 29.3. Who else is on an outlap? Daddy Cool, JK, Moomin Rider and Shane Boland all on outlaps all on flying laps I should say at the moment, and Daddy Cool heads down toward turn 10, followed just behind by JK. We'll have a look to see JK 22.0 through the first sector, 29.3 through the middle sector. Moomin Rider's lap currently showing as invalidated, so Daddy Cool and JK wheel to wheel as they come around the last couple of corners and up to the line. Daddy Cool a 1:13.4, and JK's lap time a 1:12.8 gets him up to P2 then. As Adams now in the McLaren starts a flying lap here. Not quite picking up the slipstream off his teammate of Ale. Looking to go all himself as he heads in toward turn 1 and 2. The Red Bull of Cam McKenzie going for another flying lap. Adams makes his way up through the end of the first sector for a 21.9 through the first sector. Phoenix Grey not quite matching his personal best through that first sector. Now Adams will need to clear the Aston Martin, getting nicely out of the way through turn 6 up toward turn 7 and 8 for Adams now. Those sausage curbs on the inside of turn 8, so easy to unsettle the car. Then through the flat turn 9, then back down the hill toward turn 10 with the DRS wide open, 51.3 through the middle sector, 29.4 seconds that equates to. It's Adams now around turn 12 up to turn 13. Sponge did improve his lap time on that second flying lap of 1:13.341. Adams on the run to the line looked to beat that on a 1:12.7 on a set of soft compound tyres. No one inside though, 0.6 of a second, 0.7 of a second really, of Phoenix Grey yet. Beaton, Zero Sniper both on out laps, so too is Shane Boland, Taz Manager and Yinaudi on flying laps, and Taz Manager only has this corner to go as he opens up the DRS to come to the start finish line, set his time of 14.0, 0.2 of a second behind his teammate of Carlos Sainz at this point in time. Yinaudi with one corner to go himself on a set of medium tyres for Yinaudi on the run to the line of 13.852, good enough to split the Williams in P10. As Beaton starts flying lap on a set of mediums, Zero Sniper starts a flying lap on a set of softs. Moomin Rider showing as in the pits, and Shane Boland's on a flying lap now as well on a set of the soft compound tyres as well. But Beaton 21.9 through the first sector. Zero Sniper 21.9 as well, matching each other, Beaton and Zero Sniper through the first sector. Shane Boland also a 21.9, so positions 12, 13 and 15 all sharing pretty much their sector times through sector 1. Beaton 51.5 through the middle sector. We wait to see Shane Boland across the middle sector time, 51.5 to beat, 51.4. Shane Boland looking as good as Beaton, if not a little bit better. Zero Sniper 51.8 through the middle sector, as Beaton now around the final corner on the run to the line. Runs out a little too wide, and that will invalidate this lap and the next for Beaton, so that 13.1 won't count. What now can Shane Boland do? Shane Boland going slowly there at the turn 12 corner, so Zero Sniper on the run to the line just about keeps it inbound. Zero Sniper with 13.4, good enough for P7. What's happened to Shane Boland then in sector 3 on his lap? He's headed back to the pits, must have got it wrong on the exit of turn 10. Taz Manager at the moment on a push lap, improving by a quarter of a second through the first sector to try and propel himself into that top 10 window. Carlos Sainz starts a flying lap now in the Williams. So too does Welsh Sponge to improve from that 1:13.3 on a set of softs this time around. First time we've seen a set of the red wall tyres on the red painted car. It's Beaton on that same invalidated lap again, so Phoenix Grey still just lapping, looking for just practice, get used to the tyres, get used to the Red Bull, make sure it's fully dialed in for qualifying 3. Cam Mackenzie's still out on track pushing as well. He's got his best lap time down to a 1:12.5, and that is good enough currently for P2 in the timing standings. Adams out on track on an outlap, just going past Cam Mackenzie there actually while we were watching them both. Welsh Sponge finding massive amount of time through the first two sectors, 0.8 of a second up on his previous best through as he heads through the middle sector split, and now through 13, one corner to go, turn 14. What can the Ferrari driver do as Carlos Sainz propels himself up the order, a 13.0. Welsh Sponge a 1:12.222 gets him up to P2 and just about 13 hundredths of a second behind Phoenix Grey. For the course of one lap, we're still yet to see lap times from Beaton, Moomin Rider and Shane Boland. Shane Boland going back out on track for another attempt. Beaton still on a flying run. Been on those tyres for some time now. A set of medium tyres. See rounds now the last couple of corners, hopefully for the last time to get his banker lap in. Only has 5 minutes to go left here in Quali 2, so not that much time left in the session, and Beaton on a 13.3 might not be feeling that safe. Barely a 1/10.5 clear of Daddy Cool's lap time, which acts as the cut-off point at the moment. And LA on a push lap as it stands to get himself back up into the top 10. 0.3 in each of the first two sectors so far. LA on the run to the line finds another 0.3 to get himself to P4, a 1:12.651. That drops Daddy Cool into the knockout zone and Zero Sniper onto the fringes. Shane Boland, though, on his push lap, heading up through sector 1 into sector 2, or 21.8 through the first sector for Shane Boland. Adams's push lap good enough for P3, a 1:12.422. As Shane Boland now through turn 6 and 7, up through 7 and 8, I should say, turn 9. Then run back down the hill. What can Shane Boland do through the middle sector split? Is a 53.7 through turn 10 now. Shane Boland, that middle sector, not looking overly racy. Might have backed off on this one to go again in a lap's time. Moomin Rider back out on track on a set of softs in the Aston Martin. Has looked good in the first two in the last quali session. Can he pull out another good lap this time around? Shane Boland, 16.3, gets a lap time in, but 3 minutes left on the clock. Will need to improve that lap time drastically to try and book his place and a place for the Haas into the top 10 shootout. We've got Yanaldi, Taz Manager, Daddy Cool, Zero Sniper all on outlaps. Beaten back in the pits. Welsh Sponge retires from the session safe on a 12.22. As Daddy Cool in the Alpine starts his flying run that will potentially be one of his last flying laps in qualifying to try and make himself safe into quali 3 and up to the first sector for Daddy Cool. Doesn't improve, but only 62 thousandths of a second lost. That's not an awful loss for Daddy Cool. Can he make it back up through the last 2/3 of the lap? Shane Boland not backing out this time around. 51.4 through the middle sector. Can he now make it a good end to the lap? Get himself at least inside the top 10 to give himself a hope of getting into quali 3. Shane Boland on the run to line, a 13.0, good enough for P7. That could be interesting with Carlos Sainz, the Dutchie, beaten, and everyone behind him out on a flying lap as Yanaldi starts a flying lap. Who's the next up to the line? It's going to be Daddy Cool, who's pointing the wrong way at the top of the hill at turn 12. Those softs will definitely be overcooked now. Can he get around? Well, he does definitely have time to go again, but he'll have to go straight away unless he goes quick. No, Daddy Cool straight on at turn 14 into the gravel trap. Will pick up some front wing damage, definitely, and that will almost certainly bring an end to his qualifying day as Carlos Sainz around the last corner. JK to start a flying lap. Johan W, Moomin Rider, goes to a 1:12.5, and that gets himself up to P5. That drops Beaten then into the dropout zone as Zero Sniper begins a flying lap. So too the Dutchie. Everyone from Shane Boland below is on a flying lap, and Carlos Sainz has just found a 10.5 through the first sector. The Dutchie on his push lap. The Beaten, what can he do? Cam McKenzie retires from the session. He feels safe on a 1:12.5. Zero Sniper just starting a flying lap. Yanaldi's just jumped up the order onto a 1:12.8. That's dropped the Dutchie then into the knockout zone. Beaten found a 10th through the first sector. Zero Sniper, what can he do? Taz Manager retires from the session. Daddy Cool, I'm pretty sure, is out of qualifying. It's coming up to the middle sector split for the Dutchie. Slower by 4 thousandths of a second, not going the way he needed it to in the middle sector. Carlos Sainz, what can he do in his home qualifying? On the run to the line, Carlos Sainz up to P7 at 1:12.6. That drops Shane Boland onto the fringes. Shane Boland in the pits, so he is out of qualifying. If anyone behind him improves in front of a 13.024, and he does, the Dutchie 13 thousandths of a second to knock Shane Boland out. Straight away though, Beaten a 1:12.5. That knocks the Dutchie out again. Zero Sniper on the way to the pits. Daddy Cool, I'm fairly sure, is out of qualifying as well. That means that we lose the Dutchie, Shane Boland, Zero Sniper and Daddy Cool at the end of qualifying 2. Taz Manager as well, which gives us Phoenix Grey, Welsh Sponge, Adams, Beaten, and LA jumping in front of Adams there. Cam McKenzie, Moomin Rider, Carlos Sainz in his home Grand Prix, Yanaldi and JK for a qualifying 3 standoff where all of the cars at the end of quali 2 separated by less than 0.8 of a second. Folks, don't go anywhere. This could be a massively exciting quali 3. So we wait for various cars to go across the start-finish line or get wheeled away back to the garages. Let's have a look going through the Twitch chat. Carlos Sainz, first quali 3 of the season, I'm being told, and one Williams in front of both Haas cars. Definitely, what? Yeah, Williams Haas. So Carlos Sainz could, if with a good quali 3 here, could set himself up very nicely for a points haul, which would massively help Williams versus Haas in the constructors' standings. It's the Dutchie out in quali 2. Him saying it's his first quali 2 exit for a long while. Only a 10.5 off JK and Shane Boland, then just a little further back, 13 thousandths of a second separating the two drivers that will make up row 6 on the grid. There you see, folks, the timing screens: Phoenix Gray, Welsh Sponge, LA, Adams, Beaton, Cam McKenzie, Moonman Rider, Carlos Sainz, Yinaudi and JK, your top 10. Dutchie, Shane Boland. Zero Sniper, Daddy Cool and Taz Manager, the 5 eliminated at the end of quali 2. And now we go on to qualifying 3. The clocks get reset. We have 12 minutes put on the session clock and we are underway for qualifying 3, the pole position shootout between the top 10. Are we going to see any surprises? It won't be the Dutchie, the first car out on track this time. It will be one of the McLarens. It will be the McLaren of LA that is first out on track, and there's a lot of movement down in pit lane. LA being followed out by the Mercedes of Cam McKenzie. JK gets up to racing speed, so too does Phoenix Gray. As there's movement as well in Yinaudi's garage. Carlos Sainz still in the pit, still in the box. Can't see what's going on in the Ferrari for Welsh Sponge, but Yinaudi getting released out into the fast lane. Everyone on a set of the soft compound tyres. As Yinaudi hits pit exit and accelerates up to racing speed for his first outlap of quali 3. Just leaves us with 3 in the garage, but I see more movement there, and it's the McLaren of Adams that's getting released now into the fast lane. He'll come out just behind LA, who is around the final corner already, and LA will follow LA on board all the way through his first qualifying 3 run. There is his teammate Adams coming out of the pit lane, and LA down hard onto the brakes, braking at the 75 metre mark into turn 1 and 2, and then it's flat on the throttle, shift up to 6th gear through turn 3. Try not to take too much life out of the front left hand tyre, as into turn 4 we go. 21.7 through the first sector for LA. Cam McKenzie 21.8. It's LA now through turn 5, downhill hairpin. Turn 6, nothing corner, absolutely flat out on the run up toward turn 7 and 8. Phoenix Gray 21.9 through the first sector, 22.0 for JK, 21.8 for Cam McKenzie, 21.8 for Beaton, 21.8 for Movement Rider, So LA, purple lap so far, 51.0 through the middle sector, as he now has only 3 corners to go. Turn 12, another long left-hand corner. Turn 13, downhill, a little bit off camber. Again, taking so much life out of the front left-hand tyre. Through turn 14, open up the DRS when you can, and LA, a 112.2, the first lap in Quali 3. And Phoenix Grey going for a purple sector 2 on his flying run. We'll watch Phoenix Grey on his run up to the line. Cam McKenzie 117.8, an aborted lap there. Phoenix Grey 112.0, matching his Quali 2 time, beaten a 112.4. JK a 112.7. Carlos Sainz starting his flying lap now. Adams on a flying lap at the moment. 21.8 through the first sector. Welsh Sponge starting his flying lap. Yanaudi on a flying lap currently as well. 21.9 in the first sector. 29.2 through the middle, with only 2 corners to go. Moomin Rider, the only car currently in the pit lane. Everyone else is out on track. And Welsh Sponge has just set a purple first sector as Yanaudi goes up to P4 on a 112.547. It's Adams now with just a couple of corners to go on his first Quali 3 run. I should say Adams on the run to the line, 112.5, good enough for P4. Red Bull McLaren as it runs. Carlos Sainz in his home Grand Prix. What can the Williams driver do as he makes his way around the final corner? Will pick up a bit of a slipstream there from JK, and Carlos Sainz a 13.3 so far. Cam McKenzie's returned to the pits. Moomin Riders just made his way out onto track. Welsh Sponge on the run to the line, a 112.477 gets him up to P4. So I'm being told that Cam McKenzie lost all of his time through the middle sector on that 117.8. But currently 4 cars inside 1/10 of a second of each other. Beaton, Welsh Sponge, Adams and Yanaudi, all of them, yeah, very tightly packed. This could be very interesting for the race to come if we're this tightly packed in qualifying. Carlos Sainz going slowly on his return to the pits. Moomin Rider, the only car on an outlap. Everyone else has set their first qualifying time. Cam McKenzie given a bigger explanation as to that middle sector time. Was trailing a car that had a lock-up and got a little bit distracted there. As here we go now, Moomin Rider on his first Quali 3 run. Everyone else is in the pits. I say that, and Beaton rolls down pit exit and onto the track. Moomin Rider 21.8 through the first sector. Just under 6 minutes left in qualifying to go. And Moomin Rider makes his way up, down through turn 5, back through turn 6, and then back up the hill through 7 and 8, avoiding the sausage curb on the inside at 8, and then through turn 9. Interesting there, Moomin Rider taking a very late apex on the run down toward turn 10. Of course, so many different lines possible on such a wide track like this, and a fast flowing track as well. Really can change your line about, and you could find massive amount of time to your competitors. As Moomin Rider now through the last couple of corners opens up the DRS, runs to the line. Moomin Rider 112.523. That gives us now 5 cars inside 1/10 of each other, and Beaton, the lead of that group of 5, looking to try and break away, get himself onto the front row of the grid on his next flying lap time. Well, Sponge saying that we need to acknowledge Phoenix Grey's Sector 2 time. Truth be told, I can't actually see Phoenix Grey's Sector 2 time at the moment, Welsh Sponge. But I am aware that, yes, that's where he's made up all of his time in relation to most of the others having a slower Sector 1. But absolutely blixing Sector 2 and Sector 3. Maybe the Red Bull just a little bit kinder on its tyres through that first sector, giving it some more tyre life for the end of the lap. Has beaten half a tenth up through the first sector, makes his way down the hill toward turn 10, finding another 0.12 seconds in the middle sector, then winding his way up through turn 12. Who else is out on track? We have Movement Rider returning to the pits, but Yanaudi's joined us out on track, so too Cam McKenzie and Beaton's teammate Phoenix Grey. Beaton on the run to the line now, 112.1, found another few hundredths of a second in the last sector to make it a Red Bull lockout. As it stands, the two Mercedes out on track though, currently P7 and P10. Cam McKenzie, of course, still yet to set a representative lap time. So what can Cam McKenzie do? But it'll be Yanaudi, the first Mercedes, to start his next quali 3-1, potentially his final quali run here today, with just under 3 minutes left on the clock. And we have a McLaren rolling down pit lane, and it is the McLaren of Adams looking to improve on a 112.5. As we'll follow Yanaudi now. Welsh Sponge rolls back down pit lane as well. He's out onto track for the last time in qualifying. And Yanaudi now up through turn 3. The McLaren of Adams getting well offline, well off the track in fact. Yanaudi though not making up any time through the first sector on this current flying run. Phoenix Grey just started a new flying lap to improve on a 112.0. Are we going to see Phoenix Grey nudge himself into the 1 minute 11s? Just needs to find 81 thousandths of a second for that to be the case. As Yanaudi now around the top half of the track through turn 9 on the run back toward turn 10. And finding 0.2 of a second through the middle sector to give himself a positive gain, as now he only has a couple of corners to go. And Phoenix Grey going faster in the first sector than his previous personal best, up by half a tenth I should say. Yanaudi across the line at 112.454, good enough for P4, as we have everyone but Beaton out on track, and Beaton will be released now onto the road to potentially, might just about get round for one final quali lap, but he will be having to push as hard as he can on the outlap. Cam McKenzie on the run to the line at 112.440 makes it gets himself into P4, and Phoenix Grey does indeed get into the 1 minute 11 to 111.960. Found time through sector 1 in sector 3. Phoenix Grey trying to stamp his authority on this qualifying day. Everyone out on track, nearly everyone on a flying lap. Welsh Sponge finding just over 1/10 of a second through the first sector. Purple first sector then for Welsh Sponge as he makes it way through turn 9 now. And now through the middle sector split, Welsh Sponge still finding time. Who else is finding time? Adams is finding a little bit of time, but he won't find time out there at turn 10. That's Adams' final quali run done. He won't have time to get round again and go for a flying lap. JK's retired from the session. He is out in P9. The best he can do unless Carlos Sainz finds 0.6 of a second. Welsh Sponge on the run to the line at 112.093. Not quite good enough to get into provisional pole, but good enough to break up the Red Bull lockout. Can Carlos Sainz improve up a position? Yes, he can. A 112.724 up to P9. Beaten across the line on a 112.1. Didn't get back in time for the checkered flag. Adams and Moomin Rider and Yanaudi all back to the pits. LA is pushing on and has found a little bit of time through the first sector. Phoenix Grey and Welsh Sponge have set their final lap time, so it's all now down to what LA can do, and he's found some more time through the middle sector. 0.2 of a second improvement. Just needs that those left-hand side wheels to hang on with him through the final sector to find a magical 0.3 of a second to give himself pole position here in Spain. Ale around the final corner opens up the DRS. Can he do it on the run to the line? No, he can't. It's a 1:12.039. 0.08 of a second is what Phoenix Grey is safe by, and that brings an end to quali 3. Welsh Sponge isn't on a fast lap. Ale lost time in sector 3 to his personal best, but it wouldn't have been enough to overturn the result. What a dramatic end to qualifying. And a Welsh Sponge reckoning that he lost some time up in turn 6. But Carlos Sainz P9 for his home Grand Prix. But Phoenix Grey, Ale, Welsh Sponge, all separated by very little. Beaten as well, P4. We have an all Mercedes row 3, Cam Mackenzie and Rinaldi only separated by 14 thousandths of a second. Adams and Moonman Rider will make up row 4. Carlos Sainz and JK make up row 5. And there's very little between row 3 and row 5, as there is the final classifications. Less than 0.8 of a second covered the top 10. And it was indeed an absolute cracker, as we head now towards the main race. 33 laps around this track. And what will we see in the race to come? Can Phoenix Grey turn it into domination? Can he hold on? Can he hold off against Ale and Welsh Sponge and Beaton as well? All these questions I'm sure will be answered just about 5 or 10 minutes time as we get ready to go racing. Wait to see when stewards say we'll get underway. No indication as to when we'll be getting underway. Still no indication yet. It shouldn't be too long, just a couple of moments away, as I understand. Also, just a little bit of news that I've received today from long-standing viewers of my channel, the Sharp channel. One of the old leagues that I used to commentate, CRL, may be getting back together and restarting the league. So look out potentially for the rebirth of that league on my channel. Hopefully, I'll bring you some more information on that one, as I understand, in the near future. Also, the long kind of indicated and hinted at driver career mode series that I may or may not be starting. Most likely, keep your eyes peeled for any more information on that one later through this month. Now with the arrival of F1 25 just around the corner, just under 2 months away, I may do a short little sprint career mode stream for you can all to see how bad a driver I actually am in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled for more content coming on the Sharp channel. But of course, that won't take away from MSC F1 or the Club Sport division with their march toward the end of Season 5 with just 6 races to go, including this one. And we still have the Red Bull Ring, Monza, Imola, Portimao and Zandvoort is where we'll finish off on the 6th of May. So keep your eyes peeled for any and all races to come off this channel. Austria next, the last of the sprint weekends. Then we'll go to Imola and Monza. And I'll have to take a 1 week break, missing out the Portimao. But I'll be back for the season finale at Zandvoort in the Netherlands for the last race of this mammoth season that's seen us go all around the globe. I'm being told that less than 60 seconds now to the green flag and the start of the formation lap. So I hope everyone's ready, and here we go. In fact, now and away we go for the formation lap. And let's have a look and see what tyres everyone is on. And the front 4 rows all going for a set of the yellow wall medium sticker yellow medium compound tyres. Carlos Sainz in P9, the one outlier of the top 14 in fact, going for a set of the white walled hard compound tyres on the Williams. P10 through P14, JK Dutchy, Shane Boland, Zero Sniper and Daddy Cool all going for a set of the yellow wall mediums. Taz Manager a set of hards, Arianos set of mediums, and on row 9 of the grid, Smalley and Ortron both going for a set of hards. Lining up the grid, already mentioned Smalley and Ortron on row 9. Row 8 we find Taz Manager and Arianos in the Red Bull, in the Racing Bull. On row 7, Zero Sniper in the leading of the 2 Racing Bulls, and Daddy Cool in a strong showing for the Alpine qualifying round. The Dutchy and Shane Boland line up on row 6. Row 5 we find Carlos Sainz and JK. Row 4 Adams and Movement Rider. Row 3 is a Mercedes Lockout, Cam McKenzie and Yanaldi. Row 2 Welsh Sponge, Beaton and up at the front LA will line up just behind Phoenix Grey, ready for the start of the Grand Prix. As the grid begin to form, and already there's going to be a bit of a gap. The leader's going to have to wait some while on their marks, as Ortron only just now going through turn 13. Everyone so far lining up on the grid very nicely, very neatly. No disqualifications for any dodgy parking yet, as they line up and wait for the green flag. Here's the green flag, where here's come the 5 lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and it's go, go, go here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, and it's a good start, I can tell, on the reverse angle for Phoenix Grey. On the run down toward turn 1, it's a massive run down toward turn 1, and Welsh Sponge right in the slipstream of Phoenix Grey makes his way past LA as they make their way in toward turn 2 now. And it's Phoenix Grey leading Welsh Sponge from LA, beating Cam McKenzie and Audi, Adams, Movement Rider, JK, Shane Boland making up some ground as Movement Rider filtering a long way down the field. An issue there for the Aston Martin car. For Welsh Sponge up into the lead of the, in fact, Tasmanger already up to P11. JK, Smalley, Carlos Sainz had a bad start for his home Grand Prix. Again, wrestled out there by Smalley. Up the inside looking is Arianos, Orchon up to P16, Movement Rider and the Dutchy makes up the field, but up in the front it's Will Sponge leading the way from Phoenix Grey and LA. Beaton, Cam McKenzie, Adams, Yanaudi, Shane Boland, Zero Sniper, Daddy Cool, JK, Tasmanja, Smalley, Carlos Sainz, Arianos, Ortron, Moomin Rider and the Dutchie is the order as they make their way through turn 10 at the end of sector 2. And Welsh Sponge going from P3 to P1, having a very nice start. He'll be very happy with himself on that one as they make their way around turn 13 and 14. And in fact, Welsh Sponge called 13th to third to first in the first sector on the Twitch chat. Daddy Cool having an issue at the top end of the track, so too is Moomin Rider, but they're back underway now and the Dutchie's diving to pit lane for Alpine. So a bad start then for the two Alpine cars. Good start for Welsh Sponge and a solid start for Shane Boland. Great start from Smalley and Tasmanja as well as they make their way up towards turn number 4, and Beaton's going around the outside then of Valele up into P3. Cam McKenzie right on the back of this train as well as we dive down back toward turn 5. So Welsh Sponge leads them up through 7 and 8. Carlos Sainz getting in front of Smalley. Carlos Sainz then up to P12, and he's just behind his teammate in the Williams of Tasmanja. Everyone inside the top 10, all inside DRS range of each other before you get the break back to Taz and Carlos in the two Williams. Smalley having a quick look up the inside at turn 10, but nothing coming there. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Welsh Sponge will lead them through 13 and 14, and LA is right on the back of Beaton as they come through turn 14. Down to the main straight we go. Are we going to see an overtake for the lead here? Phoenix Grey pulling out alongside and up into the front of the race. Phoenix Grey reclaims P1 on track, and into turn 1 we go. And Adams dropping away a little bit off the top 5. Just fallen outside of DRS range. We've got a yellow flag sector 2 for the Dutchie, having an issue at turn 7 and 8, trying to get it back underway in the Alpine. As up toward turn 5 we go, and Welsh Sponge staying very close to the back of that Red Bull, costing himself a little bit of aerodynamic performance, but trying to put the pressure on the Flying Scotsman as much as possible, as Smalley and Arianos do battle down at turn 5 for the pecking order behind Tasmanja and Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz then up to P11. Welsh Sponge looking up the inside down toward turn 10, gets the move done, might suffer a little bit from the undercut. No, in fact it's Phoenix Grey who runs out wide, and that allows Beaton to try and dance around the outside at turn 12. What a move then by Beaton. Up to P2 he goes, and now through 13 and 14 back onto the pit straight. It will be Beaton, the other Red Bull, in prime position. Running out wide there is LA. He'll pick up a warning for track extension. Cam McKenzie gets the purple lap, and through goes Beaton on Welsh Sponge. In fact, Phoenix Grey might try and sneak his way past around the outside into turn 1. Welsh Sponge having none of it, sends it back up the inside of Phoenix Grey, of Beaton I should say, and that drops Beaton a long way down the order back to P5. LA's got in front of Phoenix Grey, and Welsh Sponge will hold on to the lead as they head in toward turn 4. And the top 10 separated by very little time between them, 8 or 9 seconds or so. And now it's a LA McLaren versus Ferrari trying to chase down Welsh Sponge, and now we're looking up toward turn 7 and 8. And it does look that LA seems to have the pace, but Welsh Sponge has the aggression at this point in time, got the elbows out against the two Red Bulls, and that's the reason why he leads the Grand Prix. As we go back down toward turn 10 on the helicopter shot, and up through turn 11 doesn't really exist. Turn 12 definitely does. At the top of the hill, Cam McKenzie going a little bit wider than the rest. Tasmanja falling behind Smalley and Arianos, but has done his job and given Carlos Sainz a 2-second gap to try and run away from in P11. Carlos Sainz hoping that one of the leaders has an error, makes a mistake, and has to fall back down. Phoenix Grey, with the help of DRS, going up the inside of LA in toward turn 1, trying to hold it around the outside at 2. Couldn't quite get it done. He'll have to sit then in P3 for a little while longer yet. We saw Shane Boland have a little look up the inside at Adams, who's caught back up to the leaders, but no such luck going there. Arianos and Smalley both are getting overtaken by Tasmanja. Tasmanja tried around the outside, couldn't quite get it done, and that's going to drop Tasmanja back behind Moomin Rider, in fact, and there's into the wall there goes Tasmania and Daddy Cool. Ortron makes his way past as well in the Ferrari. So disaster there for Tasmania and Daddy Cool. Meanwhile, the Ferrari up at the front of the field. Welsh Sponge still holds off Alele and Phoenix Grey. Cam McKenzie beating Yanaudi, Adam, Shane Boland, Zero Sniper and JK the top 10. Zero Sniper dropping off a little bit from the top 8. He's going to come under increasing pressure then from JK in the Aston Martin. Tyre wear at the moment all pretty even amongst the top 10 or so. I'm getting, I can see on my little databases, back through turn 13 and 14 they come, and Welsh Sponge straight away going defensive down the main straight, trying to break the toes, break the slipstream, block Ale or Phoenix Grey. Phoenix Grey's got past Ale, now having to go around the outside at turn 1 on Welsh Sponge, got the inside at 2. That's going to force Welsh Sponge out wide, and this might allow Ale to try and hold it along around the outside, the high side at turn 3. Now have the mildly better drive on the run up toward turn 4, but Welsh Sponge trying to go back up the inside of Phoenix Grey. Great racing here amongst the leaders, and Phoenix Grey around the outside at 4 will now have the inside at 5 and should just have the Nouse to hold on to the lead. Cam McKenzie's trying to send it up the inside of Ale, what doesn't find any room there, now has been crowded out and falls into the jaws of Beaton in the chasing Red Bull behind. Yanaudi sitting there just behind. Adams and Shane Boland sitting in front waiting for the error to come. Wes H calling what a move from Phoenix Grey, and what a move it was indeed. It's now Phoenix Grey into turn 10, holds on to his lead. The lapped car in front of them, or the back marker in front of them, is the Dutchie in the Alpine. Welsh Sponge looking to the left and to the right, now going back up the inside at turn 12. Very rarely you get to see an overtake done there, as we're through 13 and 14. Phoenix Grey will have 8 rampaging cars right behind, led by a charging Ferrari, and here comes Ale as well, and with 3 abreast down toward turn 1, and Cam McKenzie tries to go past as well on the inside at turn 1. Phoenix Grey will hold on around the outside to P3. Beaton trying to line up a move on the Mercedes now as well, looking back up the inside at turn 3. And now on the run up toward turn 4, having to look back up the outside, nothing going there. And Beaton having to continue to be the meat in the Mercedes sandwich as the leaders now down through turn 5. There is the lapped car of the Dutchie in front. We'll have to get out of the way under yellow flags. We've got Carlos Sainz going slowly and losing out to Moonman Rider and Arianos. JK's got in front of Zero Sniper 4, P9, and down toward turn 10 we go, and Ale trying to make a move on Welsh Sponge, but Welsh Sponge picked up the DRS from the Dutchie, and that's given him a great defensive weapon there for that singular straight. And we're already on lap 7 of 33 here, and it's absolutely flying by, and we've got a massive 8-car battle for the lead as we're through turn 13 and 14 once more. And onto the main straight, Welsh Sponge will lead us to take us on to lap 8, and Ale with the DRS, and here comes Phoenix Grey and Cam McKenzie. Are we going to be 3 abreast once more down the main straight? Yes, we are. And Phoenix Grey will jump in front of them both here. Cam McKenzie looks up the inside of Welsh Sponge as well. That's going to allow Ale to hold it around the outside. Welsh Sponge went over the sausage curbs, and Ale on the inside at 3 now is going to try and hold his own against Welsh Sponge. Welsh Sponge around the outside at 3 and now into 4. Ale holds that inside line, holds the racing line, and now can squeeze out Welsh Sponge. But Welsh Sponge up the inside at turn 5 again. Great racing here amongst the leaders. Welsh Sponge having absolutely none of it, and they're still side by side through turn 6 up toward turn 7 and 8. And finally Welsh Sponge will slot back into the snake, and he will slot in the 3rd spot as we're now through turn 9 again, and we're ready to do it all over again in another DRS straight. As down the hill we go, and Ale looking for another move, but nothing coming. As we're into turn 10 we go. Phoenix Grey then up in front has a chance to breathe a little bit in the lead, and now through 13 and 14 immediately after. Ortron with a 3-second time penalty for track extending, the first one of the day, and we're 9 laps into the Grand Prix, over a quarter of the way through, and it'll be Cam McKenzie now with a chance, the best chance to line himself up for a shot at the lead of the Grand Prix. Waits and waits and waits and doesn't pull the trigger down toward turn 1. He'll sit there in P2 for a little while longer yet, but that might be a mistake, as here comes Welsh Sponge now right on the back of the Mercedes, and Beaton's having a go at the McLaren of Ale as well on the run out of turn 3 up toward turn 4. Beaton on the brakes into turn 4 has the inside line, just as Ale did a lap ago to Welsh Sponge. Can he fight it back as Welsh Sponge did? No, he can't. Beaton then up into P4 for the time being, but with how feisty this top 8, this leading pack is, I wouldn't count anyone out yet, as we look to see JK and Zero Sniper just a second and a half off the leading 8, and they're having their own battle, but they're slowly encroaching back on that gap. It was up at 2 seconds a moment ago, now down to 1.5, 1.6, so we could be looking at a 10-car battle in the very near future. Meanwhile, Carlos Sainz trying to hold off Ariano, 6 seconds behind Movement Rider. Those two are in P12 and 13, Smalley a second and a half further back. Phoenix Grey onto the main straight we go again. Just trying to break the slipstream, create that little bit of a snake, and here we go. Cam Mackenzie this time pulls the trigger down the inside on the main straightaway, and he will pick up the lead of the Grand Prix. Onto lap 10 we go. As they make their way through 1, 2 and up through turn 3 now. Ale very close to the back of Beaton, just as Beaton did a lap ago. Is he going to try and move up the inside at 4? No, he's too far back. Adams had a look at it as well on Yanaldi, but he also was too far back. Shane Boland then sits P8, and the leading 8 have put about 0.8 of a second on JK and Zero Sniper. And Zero Sniper having a go around the outside at 5. Can't quite get it done. Carlos Sainz, Smalley, Arianos has gone off. Where's that? That's at the exit of 2. And has got himself beached there on that gap, on that little grass curbing, and he's beached. You can see the rear wheels spinning away. Hopefully he gets that one fired back. Hopefully he keeps that one running and can line that one back up on track, as Cam Mackenzie now through turn 11 up toward turn 12 holds the lead. Arianos gets disqualified for parking. That feels a little bit unfair, the disqualification. Just got himself beached, but he is now out of the Grand Prix. And we're down to 17 rudders, and Yanaldi is the first car into the pits off those medium tyres. They're not lasting that long then, only 10 or 11 laps, and Phoenix Grey's coming back up the inside on Cam Mackenzie up the inside at turn 1. Phoenix Grey back into the lead of the race. So they make their way through turns 3 and 4 now. Yanaldi in the pit lane comes out on a set of the white walled hard compound tyres. 2.2 second pit stop in the pit lane for the Mercedes team, so a good pit stop, and out in 4 seconds of clear air behind Movement Rider. 4 in front, 4 behind. Perfect strategy call then for Yanaldi. Now he really needs to put in the lap time to undercut those he was racing. Pit first, get the new set of tyres on, and make up time on those that you were fighting. Zero Sniper and JK still having their own battle. That is now for P8. Shane Boland's dropped off the leaders a little bit, with Yanaldi peeling into the pits, and Adams is right now on the back of Ale. So we've got a true 6-car battle here as we head down the main straight onto lap 12. Shane Boland, 10-second penalty for speeding in the lane. JK into the pits as well. Cam Mackenzie back up into the lead of the race. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, the top 6 as it stands. As Shane Boland onto a set of hards, JK set of hards as well, going on to that Aston Martin. Where is Yanaldi? Yanaldi down the main straight. There's Shane Boland. Could be tight then between Shane and Yanaldi. Into turn 1 they go, and Yanaldi will get the position up into P9. See, he makes his way. There's Shane Boland then just behind JK. 4 seconds further back is Carlos Sainz for slightly closer company than he would have liked. Meanwhile, the leaders come down the straight back toward turn 10, and Ale looking to the inside of Beaton, looking for a move. Can't quite get there. As they make their way up the far end of the circuit, up at turn 12. And then hit the brakes and down through 13 and 14, and Cam Mackenzie will lead us on to lap 13. As Beeson is in front of Welsh Sponge, and with 3 abreast further back, as here comes Ale. Zero Sniper into the pits now, and he picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Cam McKenzie lost out to Phoenix Grey, beaten up then to P3. LA couldn't get in front of Welsh Sponge. I'm looking to see what kind of lap time Yanaudi and the Mercedes is doing on those fresh hard compound tyres. Can't quite see at the moment as Phoenix Grey leads them up through turn 6 and 7 and into a turn 8 now. After the pit stop, JK came out in front of Zero Sniper. Zero Sniper lost about 2 seconds just by going 1 lap longer. That's how much that's how powerful the undercut here is at the Circuit de Cataluna. Oh, I've forgotten at this Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. There we go. I knew it. I knew what it was. As now Phoenix Grey back through turn 13 and 14 and into the pits we go, and we've got a race on pit road. Phoenix Grey, Cam McKenzie, Welsh Sponge all into the pits. One of the McLarens is as well. LA. So Beaton and Adams race on, and Cam McKenzie picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pits, as Beaton will try to hold off Adams down in toward turn 1, and it's a set of hard compound tyres going on all the cars in the pits, and Phoenix Grey will lead them out as they were. Phoenix Grey, Cam McKenzie, Welsh Sponge, LA, the top 4, but where is Yanaudi and Shane Boland, the 2 that have already made their pit stop, coming down the main straight? There are the 4 cars. Shane Boland going for a move on Yanaudi. They're too far back to have a run at anyone who's just come out of the pit lane, but they should be deposited right into their DRS zone, and that will allow Shane Boland then to try and hold on to that P7 he has just made the move for. Shane Boland just needs to find just a little bit of time to make his way into that DRS zone. Not quite in there yet, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 2. I believe that's for the Dutchie, who is being lapped once more. Is beaten now around the final corner. It's put 2.5 seconds on Adams on this lap. Adams losing a lot of time, making an error through sector 2, and into the pits can Beaton and Adams. And Adams just about getting that McLaren slowed down in time, as both cars go on to a set of the hard compound tyres, and away they go. LA picks up a 3-second time penalty. Where's Beaton going to come out into relation with the top 4 that pitted a lap ago? Phoenix Grey down the main straight goes past them all, where then all 4 make their way past Beaton. Welsh Sponge goes up the inside of Cam McKenzie, just about, so Beaton then into P5. Yanaudi got back in front of Shane Boland. So they're 6th and 7th. A mistake from Adams drops him down to P8 now in the McLaren. But otherwise that top 8 pretty much as they were. Carlos Sainz up in P11 at the moment. Started on those hard compound tyres. Carries on. Phoenix Grey though, can he now hold off the torrent of attacks from Welsh Sponge as they make their way down toward turn 10. Welsh Sponge had a look around the outside, nothing going there. Phoenix Grey made sure to close the door off there. And now on the run through 11 and 12, Welsh Sponge utilising that different line again, and that's going to allow him to almost pull alongside on the run down toward 13 and then in toward 14, and is right on the back of Cam McKenzie as well, and they make their way onto the main straight. This could be anyone's game on the run down toward turn 1. Phoenix Grey leads the way. Now he sets the purple lap of a 15.0. Welsh Sponge gets past Phoenix Grey, so too does Cam McKenzie, and is having a look up the inside as well into turn 1 and makes it 3 past the leader. So Welsh Sponge now leads the way, and the DRS then being very strong here today, and Yanaudi has brought Shane Boland back inside the fold of the leaders. Yanaudi with that purple lap of a 15.0 will give him the bonus point for the fastest lap, as the 2 Red Bulls think about swapping positions, but Phoenix Grey holds on to P4 for the time being, and they make their way back up through turn 6, 7 and 8. Shane Boland still sticking with this leading crowd, sniffing at a chance for anything extra. It's down toward turn 10 they go. Just to remind you of the penalty counts. 10 seconds for Cam Mackenzie, Shane Boland, 0 sniper, 3 for LA, and the Dutchie in 6 for Ortron. The current penalty counts as it stands. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1, and that is for, I believe, the Dutchie going slowly. No, it's Daddy Cool, it's the other Alpine having a torrid day of it. The Alpine cars as Welsh Sponge now comes under fire from Cam Mackenzie, and Cam up then into the lead of the Grand Prix. Phoenix Grey's got past LA and Beaton trying to have a look as well, but couldn't quite find the space for that charging Red Bull through into turn 1 and 2. Maybe now around the outside at 3 as Carlos Sainz into the pits for Williams to make his pit stop off those hard compound tyres that he started the race on. As the leaders make their way through turn 4, and LA trying it around the outside of Phoenix Grey at turn 5. Phoenix will hold the lead up the inside at 6 and then into 7, and it will be as they were through 7 and 8, but Phoenix Grey a little bit out of sorts onto the sausage curb at the exit of turn 8, and that's going to allow LA to put the pressure on as Welsh Sponge looks to put the pressure on Cam Mackenzie on the run down toward turn number 1. Turn number 10 I should say, and they're all good. And now through turn 11 and 12, I believe my fire alarm might be going off in the background, hence that beeping. I apologise for that. My flatmates try to sort out why the fire alarm is going off. Back to the racing action we go. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2 for Ortron going slowly. We've got Smalley in the pit lane, and we have Welsh Sponge leading the way from Cam Mackenzie, Phoenix Grey, LA Beaton, Yanaudi, Shane Boland the top 7, with Adams sitting P8, 4 seconds now off the leading 4, and running and dropping back currently is the McLaren driver. Needs to try and re-find whatever is going wrong there, as Daddy Cool gets lapped by the leaders in that Alpine. Welsh Sponge trying to make a breakaway for it here from those behind. The gap at up to 9/10 of a second now, and he's on a push lap is Welsh Sponge. Purple sector 1 and 2. Daddy Cool 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. Welsh Sponge now at the top end of the track, still not quite breaking away that DRS gap. Shane Boland picks up a 3-second time penalty. Daddy Cool another 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. Welsh Sponge now down the main straightaway, didn't break away from DRS, but does get the purple lap of 14.555. Currently the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as they head in toward turn 1 and 2, and Welsh Sponge with the help of DRS closes that gap right back up to Welsh Sponge. So they make their way through turn 3 up towards turn 4. The Ferrari in front of the leading pack is Ortron, who's about to go a lap down to the leaders. Other fights going on. Carlos Sainz in his home Grand Prix, currently 2.1 off the back of Smalley, who Carlos Sainz would dearly love to score points, of course, in his home Grand Prix, but being 24 seconds off the back of this man here, Moomin Rider, that feels like a bit of a tall order for Carlos Sainz, so he's just hoping that someone else in front has an issue like Arianos and Daddy Cool have done as well. Sponge now leads us still up through the middle sector, the top end of the track, at the top of the hill, through 13 and 14 and onto the main straight we go, and Cam Mackenzie this time is much closer than he was a lap ago. And Cam Mackenzie gaining with the help of DRS, and he gets up into the lead of the Grand Prix, and with 3 abreast behind as Phoenix Grey, LA and Beaton do battle, and Phoenix Grey holds it around the outside at turn 1, has the inside at 2, now has to hold it around the outside at 3, and this is going to allow Beaton in fact to come up the inside of LA on the run up toward turn 4. Beaton on the inside line, he'll have to go the long way around at turn 5 if he wants to try and complete the move, as they come out of turn 4 and LA just about holds off the one Red Bull. But there you see the attacker having to swiftly become the defender, but Cam Mackenzie leading the way from Welsh Sponge and Phoenix Grey as we're on lap 20 of 33, and through turn 9 they go, and Welsh Sponge now on the run down toward turn 10. He's tried this move a couple of times, too far back again on this occasion to truly have a look at anyone in front of him. Cam McKenzie then through turn 11 and 12. Then through 13 and 14. 7 cars, all separated by less than 6 seconds. And LA, another 3-second time penalty. That will just be beginning to eat away. And here comes Welsh Sponge now with the help of DRS. Goes up the inside, gets the move done long before the braking zone. Welsh Sponge back into the lead of the Grand Prix. LA's penalty count currently 6 at 6 seconds. Cam McKenzie on 10, Shane Boland on 13. Smalley picks up a 3-second time penalty for track extending as well, as he comes under increasing pressure from Carlos Sainz behind. Meanwhile, Adams and the McLaren still losing time. LA made a move to get in front of Phoenix Gray at turn 5. Now through 6 and 7. It still has the inside line. Phoenix Gray trying to sweep around the outside and gets the and holds the move. Holds the place with a great move, great defensive move in P3. Does Phoenix Gray as Yanaudi has a look behind at Beaton in case there's anything, but nothing going there. At the inside of turn 10, Welsh Sponge still leading the way as Zero Sniper picks up a 10-second time penalty. Carlos Sainz has got in front of Smalley. That's up at turn 4. Welsh Sponge now down the front straight away from Cam McKenzie. DRS wide open for Cam in the Mercedes, and he pulls alongside now. He'll have to go the long way round, but gets the move done before they hit the brakes. Cam McKenzie back up into the lead of the Grand Prix from Welsh Sponge and Phoenix Gray. Alea sits P4, and Yanaudi now, as Beaton had a bad run through turn 2, that allows Yanaudi to get up into P5. Beaton then dropped to P6. Shane Boland P7, Adams P8. JK P9, Zero Sniper rounds off the points bank positions in 10, but Moonman Rider marching back up to Zero Sniper and JK 5.5 seconds behind is Moonman Rider as it stands. Carlos Sainz 23.5 further back, but in front of Smalley in P12. So Lea gets very close to the back of Phoenix Gray once more. Yanaudi doing well though to keep inside the 1 second window of the leading pack. If he's not careful, that gap could have easily turned into the breakaway that the 4 leaders would have needed to run away with this race, really. It's now through turn 13 and 14. Cam McKenzie onto the main straight. There's a little bit of daylight from Welsh Sponge, but we know how strong the DRS is, and through goes Welsh Sponge back up into the lead of the race. We've got 11 laps to go here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. And it could be anyone's game. Anyone without a penalty, Cam McKenzie, LA, Shane Boland, all have a massive job in front of them if they want to win this Grand Prix. But Welsh Sponge, Phoenix Gray, Beaton and Yanaudi all have a very fair shot. But Beaton going straight on at turn 4 into the wall. Got the braking zone all wrong. Gets it pointing around the right way. Dutchy picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the lane. Adams goes past Beaton. Beaton will now have gravel all over his tyres, and here comes JK to add insult to injury as he makes his way, as they make their way through turn 5. Can JK try and put the Red Bull under some pressure for that P8 spot now? Adams 7 seconds off the leading pack, falling away badly. Shane Boland then, after Beaton falling out of alignment, that's given Yanaudi a 1.4 second gap to the top 4, and given Shane Boland almost a free invite to try and attack Yanaudi for that P5 spot as they come around turn 14. Welsh Sponge sets a new purple lap. Phoenix Gray dropping off the leaders a little bit as well, but Shane Boland pulls alongside for P5. Phoenix Gray holds off LA. Cam McKenzie though up into the lead of the Grand Prix after Welsh Sponge set a new purple lap for the day, a 1:14.442. As can Shane Boland now. The big question is, can Shane Boland get inside the 1 second window of LA, who's dropped off a little bit from Phoenix Gray, who has dropped off a little bit from the 2 leaders. With 10 laps to go, just under 10 laps to go. This could be a very interesting race. Beaton did indeed lose out to JK, and JK pulling away from Beaton then somewhat. I wonder if Beaton has some front wing damage that's going to make him lose time from here on out. Welsh Sponge versus Cam McKenzie down toward turn 10. Nothing going there as they hit the brakes. Shane Boland not quite able to gain time on those in front in the Haas. As he tries to hold off Yanaudi, and now Yanaudi, just as Shane Boland did a lap ago, will have a free invite for a run on P5 as Cam Mackenzie over the start-finish line sets a new PB, but it won't be enough to hold off Welsh Sponge, who's already alongside and already ahead of the Mercedes. Yanaudi in front of Shane Boland. One Mercedes gains a spot, one loses a spot. Taz Manager heads into the pits, beaten 2.2 now off the back of JK. Let's have a look at his lap times quickly. Last lap around set at 1:18.0. Reference 0 Sniper 1:16.8. JK on 1:15.5. Beaten losing a lot of time then through the first sector, it has to be said. As the leading four now, we had a pack of 8, we're now down to a pack of 4 leading the Grand Prix. And it could be any one of them that will take the checkered flag first. Of course, Cam Mackenzie and LA do have a penalty count to serve, so their job to win the Grand Prix is much harder than Welsh Sponge or Phoenix Grey. But Phoenix Grey just seems happy to sit P3 for the moment, allow Welsh Sponge and Cam Mackenzie to use their tyres up and give himself a run at the win right at the end, which is what we saw at the end of the first stint, that Phoenix Grey's tyres came back to him, and now he looks around the outside at turn 1 on Welsh Sponge, but he's just too far back to make that move stick. So Cam Mackenzie leads the way from Welsh Sponge, Phoenix Grey and LA, the top 4 still. Shane Boland's back up to P5. Beaton's made it back to pit lane. And Taz Manager picks up a 3-second time penalty. Indeed, it is a new front wing for Beaton, and that's going to drop him outside the points. Give Moomin Rider the position. Beaton into P11 then. Back underway on a set of the soft compound tyres. He'll have a job to do to try and get a point from there, but he might just stop anyone else getting the fastest lap point that currently lies with Welsh Sponge. Cam Mackenzie still in the lead of the Grand Prix. Heading into turn 10, Welsh Sponge, Phoenix Grey just behind. Mere car lengths behind. In fact, Carlos Sainz still trying to hold off Smalley for P12. Beaton has a 17-second gap to overturn to try and get a point from this Grand Prix, assuming that there are no penalties handed out. As Cam Mackenzie now, here comes Welsh Sponge, here comes Phoenix Grey. We've seen this before. Welsh Sponge up the inside into turn 1, get to the lead of the Grand Prix. We've got 7 laps to go here on the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, and this is a truly exciting race. Shane Boland holds off Yanaudi for P5 at the moment. Zero Sniper has 2.5 seconds back to Moomin Rider. Ultron picking up another 3 seconds time penalty for track extension. And Beaton absolutely flying on those new soft compound tyres, already bringing the gap down to 16 seconds, just under, as he goes on to lap 27 of 33. In purple, sector 2 and sector 3 for Beaton, as now Welsh Sponge down the hill toward turn 10. Once more, and knows that he has a Mercedes, a Red Bull and a McLaren right in his wing mirrors. As he makes his way now through 11 and 12. The Dutchie, another 3-second time penalty for track extension. And through 13 and 14 we go. Welsh Sponge will come under fire again from those behind. Down the front straightaway. Here we go. Cam Mackenzie pulling out alongside. We'll have to go the long way round. Is Phoenix Grey close enough to have a look? No, he's not. So Cam Mackenzie leads with 6 laps to go. Looking to see what kind of lap time Beaton is on the way to delivering. 14.5 seconds he is now behind Moomin Rider, who's only 1.8 off the back of Zero Sniper. JK's only 3 seconds off the back of Adams as well, so there could be a last gasp battle in there. Carlos Sainz and Smalley still battling for P12, and Carlos Sainz just about holds off the Haas at this point in time. Beaton sets a purple lap of 1:13.8 with a mammoth middle and last sector. So if he now can get into the top 10. That will get him 2 points instead of just the regular one, but he's got 13.5 seconds to overturn for that to be the case, unless Serious Sniper or Moonman Rider come under, slow each other down massively in their own battle toward the end of the Grand Prix. Cam Mackenzie now leads us on to lap 29. 5 laps to go from Welsh Sponge and Phoenix Grey. And Phoenix Grey looking to try and get in the move now. He knows that his true battle is with Welsh Sponge as Yanaudi gets back in front of Shane Boland for P5 on the road. Just one more look at the penalty count to remind everyone. Cam Mackenzie has 10 seconds, Alea 6, Shane Boland 13, Zero Sniper 13, 3 for Smalley and Taz Manager, 16 for the Duchy, and 9 for Ortron. Daddy Cool has retired from the race. He retired about 10 laps ago. And Arianos was disqualified rather unfairly, I thought, for being beached on the grass bank at the exit of turn 1 and 2, as now down the hill out of turn 9 down toward turn 10. It's the closest Welsh Sponge has been in a while. Can't quite get the move done. Beaton picks up a 3-second time penalty for track extension. He's now just made his job a little harder if he wants to pick up a point. He knows that Zero Sniper will have 13 seconds of time penalties. Adams picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. That's going to bring him under fire from JK if he's not careful this round. Turn 14 we go. Cam Mackenzie onto lap 30 of 33. Welsh Sponge and Phoenix Grey squabbling away. That's the true battle for the win. The two around them both have rather large amounts of penalty that they're not going to be able to overturn, as Welsh Sponge with a great move around the outside at turn 2, up the inside at 3. That came from a late look up the inside at turn 1, gets up into the lead of the Grand Prix, puts a car between himself and Phoenix Grey, and that could be crucial with just under 4 laps to go now. Into turn 5 they come, as Moonman Rider gets in front of Zero Sniper for P9. So both Aston Martins in a scoring position. As Welsh Sponge now at the top of the hill. Turn 9, Smalley's just got in front of Carlos Sainz for P12. Welsh Sponge on the way downhill toward turn 10. Lele, Cam Mackenzie, Phoenix Grey, Welsh Sponge, as they have been for all of this race, separated by just a couple of seconds, barely 1.3, 1.5 seconds, as Welsh Sponge leads us on to lap 31 to 33, 3 to go here. And there's a car between himself and Phoenix Grey, who is his key rival at this point to winning the race. As Welsh Sponge continues to lead. Rinaldi gets back in front of Shane Boland for P5. Those two still just swapping positions with each other. Of course, Shane Boland with that 13 seconds worth of time penalties, looking to try and put 10 seconds on Adams to alleviate the penalty differential between the two, and he to hold on to that P6 spot. As Welsh Sponge down the hill through turn 6, Phoenix Grey has a lay right behind. He's fallen back a little bit off Cam Mackenzie, I should say, and that's going to put him under slightly more pressure than anything if he wants to try and win the Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz still just about holding off Smalley for P12. Beater now just 10 seconds behind Zero Sniper, trying to alleviate and get inside the penalty window of Zero Sniper's 13 seconds. Welsh Sponge at the top of the hill now through 13, back down toward 14, down the hill they come to take us onto the penultimate lap. 0.8 of a second clear of his main rival to win the Grand Prix, but Cam Mackenzie with DRS looking to try and take the win on the road. Is gaining. It's too far back for a move into turn 1. Shane Boland is getting his elbows out once more with Rinaldi, and he's back up into P5. Those two just DRS swapping their way, trying to stay as close as they can to the leaders, trying to give Shane Boland as much of a gap as possible to Adams. Adams, who's trying to put a gap on JK. JK 3.7 behind Adams, only needs another few tenths of a second to get inside his penalty window. Zero Sniper stuck with Moonman Rider, but beaten now just about 10 seconds behind, which I think is what he needs to be for his penalty count to take effect. As through turn 9, Welsh Sponge leads us once more. Down the hill they come. through turn 10 and 11, that kind of one long left-handed corner, then up to turn 12. Just two corners and a lap to go. 16 corners left. Smalley and Carlos Sainz still doing battle with each other down at the end of the main straight. Just Welsh Sponge will lead us on to the last lap. Cam Mackenzie just behind. Cam Mackenzie looking for a move up the inside line. He'll get the position done into turn 1, but Phoenix Gray gaining. He'll have to go the long way round in turn 1. Later on the brakes, he's got the inside line for turn 2. He's still there up the inside line. Welsh Sponge trying to force him out, crowd him out. And now Ale, can he get involved around the outside at 3? Can Phoenix Gray try and hold off? He knows he needs to hold off the McLaren if he wants any chance of winning this Grand Prix. He'll have one realistic opportunity left, and that would be at turn 10, unless Welsh Sponge makes a mistake in trying to overtake Cam Mackenzie too soon. Shane Boland's got back in front of Yanaudi, but he'd now lost too much time to try and hold off Adams and hit the penalty count back. And what about Beaton's penalty count back as well? Cam Mackenzie slow through 7 and 8, trying to slow Welsh Sponge up a little bit. Welsh Sponge though in a good run, but sliding up the top of the hill at turn 9. On the run down toward turn 10, is looking for a move. It's too far back for a move at turn 10. Cam Mackenzie though locking up, sliding at turn 10. That's going to really slow Welsh Sponge up this time. And now at the top of the hill, Welsh Sponge looking for a move at the inside of turn 12. And this is just allowing Phoenix Gray to get closer and closer. And now Cam Mackenzie bolts. And now he tries to break free from the Ferrari. And he'll come round turn 14. He'll come round to win the race on the road. But with the 10-second penalty, he'll finish in P4 behind Ale and Phoenix Gray and Welsh Sponge. So Welsh Sponge wins the day from Phoenix Gray. Yanaudi will complete the podium. Ale P4, Cam Mackenzie P5, Adams P6, Shane Boland will come home P7, JK will come home P7. He was inside 10 seconds of Shane Boland by 88 thousandths of a second, so 4 points then for Haas, but that's still a good result for them in the constructors standings. Moomin Rider will come home P9. Zero Sniper P10. Where is Beaton? If for that 10-second penalty to be served, can Beaton snag 2 points? Yes, he can. One for P10, one for the fastest lap. He was 2 seconds to the good there. Smalley versus Carlos Sainz. Are we going to see a last gasp overtake for the home hero? With just a few corners to go, can Smalley hold off P12 on the road? He does have a penalty that will drop him down to P12, P13, but Carlos Sainz comes home P12 then for his home race. Welsh Sponge saying he's happy, but not necessarily the way he'd have wanted to win that Grand Prix. No one really winning on penalty countback. Welsh Sponge gets the in-game driver of the day, and with some of the moves and some of the overtakes he's made, it's hard to disagree with him. But let's have a look at the official classifications as they stand. As we see quickly the podium, Welsh Sponge, Phoenix Gray and Yanaudi, your top 3 today. Welsh Sponge 3rd to 1st, Phoenix Gray 1st to 2nd, Yanaudi 6th to 3rd. That's a good drive there, keeping his nose clean. JK 10th to 7th. Shane Boland 12th to 8th, made a great start and really kept us on our toes throughout the race. And Shane Boland, in fact, I might just give my drive of the day to Shane Boland. That 10-second penalty did cost him 3 positions at the end of the day, but he put in such a great drive before that. Shane Boland gets the extra point for driver of the day. Welsh Sponge takes the win, and Beaton gets 2 points for the fastest lap and P10. And I think Welsh Sponge, with that finish, might have just overtaken Adams for the best of the rest category. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I've been Sharp, and I'll be back next week for the Austrian Grand Prix around Spielberg, the Red Bull Ring, the last sprint race of the season. Folks, thank you so much for watching. Welsh Sponge, your race winner. Phoenix Gray, Yanaudi, your podium. Your driver of the day is Shane Boland. Beaton gets the fastest lap. Folks, I've just said it twice. I'll say it a third time for luck. I've been Sharp. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon for the next instalment, round 21, 5 to go in season 5, MSC F1, the club sport division. But for now, good night and goodbye.